Let's bring in today's panel CNN political commentator Mary Catherine Ham. She's also a senior writer at The Federalist. Juliana Glover is a Republican strategist, and CNN political commentator Kayleigh McEnany, who's also a conservative columnist. Mary Catherine, what do you make of this endorsement from Dr. Ben Carson? Did you expect that he would go into the Trump camp?
I did not expect that, and actually, if you look at his Facebook page, it's interesting to see the response from many of his fans. I mean, you've got a man who seems to be maybe the nicest guy on the planet, and maybe this is why he endorsed Trump. He's so nice and so faithful that he's forgiven him for calling him pathological like a pedophile and endorsed him. The response from many of his fans is like, wow, I'm really surprised by this and I'm not excited about it. And I think many of those people are inclined to go Cruz would be my guess. Not all of them. Some of them will listen to Ben Carson, but this is quite something to get over, to stand behind him at a podium.
Kayleigh, let me bring you in because Trump was asked about some of these comments, especially about the pathological and child molester comments. And Trump said, look, that's part of the political game, but that's all behind us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, he was playing into the larger narrative. If you turned on any news station when Donald Trump was making those comments, the narrative coming out of the news stations was Ben Carson lied about X, Y, or Z. I contest that Ben Carson ever lied, but the fact is that was what was being said repeatedly. Donald Trump played into that, and it speaks very highly of Donald Trump that Ben Carson said, despite sparring with this man, despite all of the negativity between the two of us, I am endorsing him for president of the United States. And I think what is more important than that is that today he spoke to Trump's soft underside, his soft underbelly, his Christian spirit. He validated what a lot of evangelicals are seeing. There's another side to Trump. That's why he's winning in southeastern states and winning among evangelicals.
Juliana, obviously there's still a very vocal Stop Trump movement. And there are questions about, and you heard them from Mitt Romney, among others, about how best to do it. Take a listen to Marco Rubio's communications director, Alex Conant, talking about a way that Trump can be stopped.
And the Rubio supporters in Ohio should vote for John Kasich. Your answer is yes?
Yeah, my answer is John Kasich is the one candidate in Ohio that can beat Donald Trump. That's stating the obvious.
Basically, you have there the Rubio campaign saying, if our supporters want to support John Kasich in Ohio, go ahead and do it. That's the best way to defeat Trump in Ohio. You heard Ted Cruz and others say this is a lot of games.
You did hear Ted Cruz say it was a lot of games, but you also heard the Kasich folks not giving the Rubio team the same type of love. Kasich's folks came back and said they didn't necessarily agree that if the Rubio people voted for Kasich in Ohio, that it would help Rubio if the Kasich folks voted for him in Florida. They said that Kasich's folks would win that without Rubio's team's help.
Yeah, they were pretty tough. It was pretty vicious. Mary
I
Catherine?
think Kasich is about as willing to play ball as Trump is to show his humility and fear of the Lord. I mean, this is like, neither one is going to happen anytime soon. But, you know, Rubio and his folks are right. In Ohio, if you want to beat Trump, then Kasich is the guy to do it. And if you want to do it in Florida, likely Rubio's the better bet than Cruz, but it's a close call. And certainly they're all just going to continue fighting each other. But I thought it was not a bad moment from Rubio's people to say, hey, this is the reality.
But it wasn't a position of strength. It wasn't a dominant campaign act.
He's not in a position.
No.
I mean, that ship has sailed.
Kayleigh, let me ask you, they were talking about fighting here. They were talking about, you know, rhetorical fighting, but there's actual fighting going on at Trump rallies on occasions. Mr. Trump put the blame for the violence on bad dudes, the protesters, and he insisted he's not the problem. But the Clinton campaign and the Sanders campaign make it very clear that they think he is encouraging violence, and this is going to be a campaign issue.
I don't think it will be a campaign issue. I think most voters, when they look at this violence, they're willing to recognize that Donald Trump is drawing crowds as high as 35,000 or more. And when you are drawing crowds like that, it's not your job to babysit the audience. There are municipal authorities, there are police officers, there are Secret Service officers there who are supposed to take care of the violence. That is not Donald Trump's job to do that. Some of the protesters are boisterous, are throwing punches, are doing violent things. And likewise, some of his Donald Trump supporters are doing violent things. But it's not Donald Trump's role to stop them, just like it wasn't Barack Obama's role to ensure that the Black Panthers didn't show up at a polling place as they did.
I don't know if that's exactly the same thing, but Mary Catherine, let me ask you. I asked Donald Trump last night. I read some of the quotes that he's made. Punch him in the face. If you go to prison, I'll pay your legal bills. I mean, does he bear any responsibility?
Those are fairly clear encouragements, are they not? I mean, it's the easy thing to do here, and it is true that he does not have to have responsibility for every single person in his audience at every moment. But what the babysitter should not do is say, hey, go out in the backyard and just fight it out. Like that's also not his role, but that is what he continues to do. And then you've got this other incident with Michelle Fields with this allegation against Corey Lewandowski for touching her in a scrum, and they have not dealt with that in a serious manner, which is what people are looking for. Hey, something happened. It looks like it was bad. We want to deal with this in a responsible and serious manner and make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's the part that's not happening.
All right, we have to leave it there. Mary Catherine Ham, Juliana Glover, Kayleigh McEnany, thank you all so much.